Some silences feel peaceful, others feel like disappearing. If your voice shuts down the moment truth rises in your throat, if you rehearse sentences in your mind but lose them as soon as someone looks at you, if your body would rather endure the ache than risk being misunderstood, this isn't conflict avoidance born from fear or weakness. It's a survival response learned in a life where speaking once cost you more than silence. Avoidance isn't a communication problem, it's a survival strategy, a nervous system reflex, an old agreement made by a child who learned, if I stay quiet, I stay safe. This is not the adult failing, this is the inner child protecting. Conflict doesn't activate logic, it activates memory. Your body responds not to what is happening now, but to what it has lived before. For some, confrontation triggers fight or flight. For others, especially those raised around emotional volatility, criticism or withdrawal, the system enters functional freeze or fawn. On the outside it looks calm, on the inside it's shut down. You may notice throat tightening, breath disappearing, mind going blank, smiling to smooth things over, agreeing to end the moment quickly, apologising even when you're hurting. Nothing about this is irrational. The nervous system has one instruction: do whatever keeps connecting. Avoiding confrontation is not the fear of conflict, it's the fear of abandonment dressed as compliance. Children don't avoid confrontation because they dislike discomfort. They avoid it because they are powerless to survive rupture. If you grew up with anger that arrived without warning, a parent who shut down when you expressed emotion, love that depended on obedience, punishment for needs or opinions, a household where peace was fragile, your system learned a single rule: truth is dangerous, silence keeps me loved. And so the child becomes the peacemaker, the easy one, the good one, the child who never asks too much, not because she didn't have needs, but because she learned not to show them. As an adult, it translates into avoiding difficult conversations, shrinking in moments of tension, staying in relationships long after they hurt, emotional self-erasure to keep others comfortable. Avoidance is not a flaw, it is loyalty to a version of you who once had no protection. Inner child healing does not force the voice to return. It teaches the body that speaking no longer threatens survival. But some people don't just hesitate during confrontation. Their words vanish entirely. Adult selective mutism is an involuntary speech shutdown triggered by relational threat rooted in freeze, not choice. It often appears when someone raises their voice, disappointment feels unbearable, power dynamics echo childhood, expressing truth risks rejection. The body doesn't care that you're grown, it only cares about safety. When the nervous system is overwhelmed, the voice shuts down to preserve attachment. This isn't shyness, it's protection. Not all silence begins with conflict. Some begins with absence. When a father was emotionally unreachable, unpredictable, dismissive, critical, physically present, but relationally absent, the child learns: don't need too much, don't speak too honestly, don't risk disappointing him. The nervous system encodes. Closeness is conditional. As adults, this can look like tolerating harmful behaviour, avoiding self-advocacy, freezing around authority, choosing partners who cannot meet you, confusing compliance with love. When the first man you loved couldn't stay present, your body learned not to expect repair. Avoidance becomes the only safety strategy you had. Not all conflict avoidance comes from fear of anger. Sometimes it comes from fear of disappointment. Where the father wound often teaches the child not to need, the mother wound can teach the child not to upset. When a mother was emotionally inconsistent, overwhelmed and unavailable, critical or perfection focused, enmeshed, intrusive or boundaryless, loving only when you were pleasing, quiet or compliant, the child learns a different survival rule. If I stay agreeable, I stay loved. This creates a nervous system blueprint where harmony becomes responsibility, emotional caretaking replaces self-expression, conflict feels like betrayal rather than communication. Your needs feel dangerous, selfish or too much. As an adult, this may look like avoiding confrontation to protect others, over-explaining to prevent hurt, taking responsibility for other people's actions, choosing self-silencing over being perceived as difficult, collapsing your boundaries to maintain closeness. Avoidance becomes less about safety and more about preservation of belonging. The ache beneath it is not fear of conflict, it's fear of losing connection with the person you were taught to keep regulated. Inner child healing helps us meet the younger self who learned to disappear in order to be loved and teaches the nervous system that truth does not equal abandonment. Avoiding confrontation can feel like protecting the relationship, preventing escalation, choosing kindness, but silence doesn't preserve connection. It erodes it slowly. For many, avoidance isn't rooted in fear of conflict at all. It's rooted in toxic empathy, the survival strategy of absorbing someone else's emotions so completely that your own needs disappear. When you grow up attuning to others in order to stay safe, conflict feels dangerous, not because of the conversation, but because of what it might cost. Belonging, approval, harmony, love. So, instead of expressing truth, you smooth over edges of other people's feelings, anticipate their reactions, apologise before anything has happened, carry emotional weight that was never yours, not because you are compassionate, but because your nervous system still believes that keeping the peace keeps you alive. The body remembers every moment you needed to speak and couldn't. Over time, silence becomes a physiological pattern. The throat contracts before words form. The chest tightens when needs arise. The jaw clamps around unsaid sentences. The nervous system prepares for loss instead of expression. What looks like I don't like conflict is often my body has never learned safety in being heard. This is not physiological weakness, it's neurobiological conditioning. The nervous system isn't stubborn, it's loyal. You don't start with the conversation, you start with regulation. Orient to the present, turn your head slowly and name what you can see. Remind your system the threat is old, not current. Breathe into that area that tightens instead of forcing air. Imagine widening the space by just 5%. Small is enough. Use a bridge sentence, not to perform, to stay connected to yourself. Try, I want to share something and it feels vulnerable, but I'm here to be honest, not to blame. Safety first, words second. Stop when you disconnect. Dysregulation ends communication. Pausing is maturity. Expect discomfort. Shaking is the body releasing, not failing. You're not trying to become fearless. You are learning how to stay with yourself while you are afraid. Sometimes you speak clearly, gently, bravely, and nothing shifts. You cannot make someone emotionally present and you cannot force repair. But the moment you stop abandoning yourself, something profound changes. The relationship becomes honest. Your standards reset. Clarity replaces confusion. Longing stops running your life. When someone cannot meet your truth, the loss is not yours. It's simply information. Try writing this. What is the youngest part of me reacting to? And what does she need right now? Do not ask how to say it perfectly. Ask how to stay with yourself while you say it. Self-abandonment was the original wound. Self-presence is the healing. Avoidance once kept you safe. It kept the peace you depended on. It kept love from disappearing. But what protected you then may be costing you now. You can learn to speak without collapse. You can express without losing yourself. You can choose connection without self-erasure. Silence saved you once. It doesn't have to run your life anymore. This is not a communication flaw. It's a nervous system response. If conflict was once paired with shame, withdrawal, or punishment, the body learns that expression equals danger. What looks like freezing is often functional freeze or fawn, where the system prioritizes safety over truth. Avoidance isn't about comfort, it's about attachment, survival. As children, we depend on caregivers for safety. If expressing needs risked rejection, disappointment, or emotional withdrawal, silence became the only secure strategy. Avoidance is not a habit to break, it's a pattern to understand.